Hi, YouTube family. So today we are here with Virginia. Virginia is amazing. She was one of my very first friends, one of the first people that I met when I moved to Nairobi.
Am I?
Yes. I met her because once I got to Nairobi, I started taking Swahili classes, and this was my teacher for Kiswahili. Yes. So, welcome. Thank you. Tell us about yourself, Tafadhali.
So I'm Virginia, as she said. And so we met when she was taking Swahili classes. I ended up, or I'll say I just got blessed with a student who was finally vibrant. I don't know why I used to just get people who are so direct to the point, gone. But thank God for Simone. Yeah, and I'm also a wife and a mom.
And
yeah, and with another on the way.
Yes.
Or whatever number God wants to give me.
Yes.
And yeah.
Mashallah.
And yeah, so that's me.
Yes. So we're out here in Wendani, Kahaba Wendani. And yeah, I just came to visit her, wanted to talk to her. We wanted to just talk about some things, have a nice visit, wanted to check up on the bun in the oven. And maybe we'll go around a bit. We'll show you around her neighborhood. You can hear the rooster crowing.
Oh, it's just that one rooster. We're still in the city.
I was like, what? Oh, yeah. And we'll maybe get some food, go for a bit of a walk, and all of that in a minute. But first, let's talk about so you teach Kiswahili. What other languages do you speak?
So I speak English. I speak Swahili, and I speak my mother tongue. I'm Kikuyu, so I'm a very fluent Kikuyu speaker.
Yeah.
And then I've been a French student for I think the last 11 years, so I speak very good French. So for some reason I ended up teaching all four. So you want to learn French, you want to learn Kikuyu, English, Swahili, I'm your guy.
Yes.
Oh, your girl.
She's very good. She's a polyglot. We were just talking about the fact that I need to teach her Spanish and she needs to teach me French. That's what we said we're going to do.
Yeah.
So
Spanish is so easy. French, Spanish, they all came from Latin. So if you're speaking Spanish, French is quite relatable. If you're speaking Spanish, French is relatable.
Yes. Yeah. We were just saying, I said something was parfait.
Parfait.
Parfait en français. And she was like, how do you say parfait in Spanish? So
yeah, and I learned it, you just say perfecto.
Perfecto. So it's all, they have a lot of similarities.
Did I say it right?
Yeah, perfecto.
Perfecto.
Okay. How do I say it in Kiswahili?
Let's see. Perfect? Perfect. There's nothing perfect in African culture, so Swahili is another thing. I'll give you an answer to that in a few.
Sawa. What's more than good? Like if something is like vizuri, like more.
So we have nzuri, which is good, and then we have njema, which is still good.
Like
so like. The only way to say like perfect is like saying nzuri zaidi or njema zaidi, like when you add very or
very good.
We call them adverbs of degree in English. Like you have to add another word that means a lot or very.
Take it up another level.
Exactly.
Okay.
So
well,
yeah, that's the closest I can get, but I should have an answer for that. Whoa, you pricked my brain.
That's my job. So yes, but yeah, she's awesome. She teaches me all the time. She stops me from speaking Sheng. She's like, no, you have to say it this way. No, this goes with this in Ngeli.
You'll end up learning the worst Swahili ever. Sheng is not Swahili. It's a mixture of languages. You'll find that there's so much Sheng in Nairobi. You go to Dagoretti, there's Dagoretti Sheng. You go to Huruma, there's a different kind of Sheng. You come to my own hometown, there's a Sheng that is mixed with my mother tongue. So you wouldn't have ended up learning any form of language, just slang.
True. True. But I want to learn both. It's like I want, you know.
Okay, we have some words
wanna
that
be-
stick. There are those that are like from the old Shang before people learned how to play around with the words.
Right.
But trust me, every day you wake up, there's a new Shang word in the world, and you're like, okay.
I know.
Okay.
I know dunda. Ninataka dunda.
Nataka kwenda dunda.
Ndio. Ni kweli.
So I told you, mister.
No. Wait, I know little things like okay, so someone was just telling me if they ask me niaje, I can say freshi barida. Like this, like Nico freshi barida.
Baridi. Freshi barida. Barida or baridi?
They told me barida because I was like baridi, like cool, but they were like no, Nico freshi barida.
Well, I'm not your teacher when it comes to that, okay. So I'm not talking about that.
Okay.
I won't even say yes or no.
Sawa. I'm trying, guys. I'm like, you know, I'm trying.
No, but you're really good. You're really good. Yeah. Asante. Oh, Kanairo. You know Kanairo.
Ninaishi Kanairo sasa. Yes, girl. So, well, let's see. So should we go get something to eat?
Yeah, we should.
Okay. We're going to head out. We're going to show you the neighborhood a little bit, and then we'll be back.
Heads up. It's dusty.
Okay. Kwaheri. So we started off our walk just heading to get some chapati to go along with some food that Virginia had already prepared. There's a great little cafe around the corner. So we were just going to head there and pick up some chapati to go with our lunch. And at the 18-minute mark, right after we have lunch, I actually start interviewing Virginia and finding out what she has to say about language and its correlation to colonization, and what she thinks about language and mother tongues being used here in Kenya. And she has a lot to say, most definitely, so stay tuned for that. And as we were heading along, I saw this cute little goat, or mbuzi in Kiswahili, and he let out this sound. That's my goat friend. He let out this sound that it sounded like he called my name. It was really funny. It's debatable, but it sounded like my name to me. So Wendani is an area just to the northeast outskirts of Nairobi, and still pretty close to getting to Nairobi proper, like Nairobi Central. Just to the north of Thika Road Mall, TRM, and really close to Kenyatta University. So you'll see a lot of high-rise apartments and houses, very residential. And I find that people are really friendly out here, which I love. So we're coming up on our cafe here where we're going to pick up our chapati. And yeah, sometimes it just makes sense to get them pre-done. They're homemade, they're delicious, they're hot and ready. So we just did that option today. And now we're heading back to Virginia's. And we just stopped really quick to get some bananas for Virginia's little girl when she gets out of school. Stay tuned to the very end and you'll see us go pick her up from school. She's a sweetheart.
So it almost slipped my mind that Simone only does veggies. Not only does she's vegetarian, so she's going to do her cabbage
Asante.
and chapati.
Dio. Ni sawa.
I don't know that you love them well cooked. They're well cooked, but not overcooked.
No, I love it. If you made it, I love it. You're a good cook.
Oh, thank you. And I'm doing ndengu with some tinge of minced meat.
Ndengu and minced meat.
Yeah. So
Na chapati.
I stole that recipe from my neighbor and it went really well.
Sawa.
And we're both going to have chapati as our starch.
Boa.
Yep. So I think that's good.
I love it. I'm just going to wash up really quick.
Me too.
Sawa. We're gonna go wash our hands, and we'll be back. So we just washed our hands outside. Now we're putting the chapati on a plate, and we're going to have lunch.
And there are our chapatis. We can eat to fill.
Yay! Chapati.
Okay.
Asante. Serviette.
That's Spanish. It's just like French.
Servieta.
Serviette.
Servietas. Mm. Yeah, we're all...
So for French, it's serviette.
Serviette?
Yeah, same spelling.
Oh.
And then I think the English didn't have a name for them. They call them serviettes.
Yeah.
Same spelling.
But in English, there's a lot of words that they take from
Napkins,
French. Yeah.
Serviettes.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Even someone was... I mean, I remember in...
Like bureau.
Bureau. Yeah.
I think that's the most common one. You tell someone, oh, I'm going to the bureau. Je vais au bureau.
In Spain, I remember one time someone was asking me, how do you say, because when it's time to eat, we say buen provecho in Spanish. And they were like, how do you say buen provecho in English? And we say bon appetit.
Bon appetit is French.
Yeah, and they were like, that's French. They were like, how do you say it in English? I was like, we just say bon appetit.
Unless you tell someone, enjoy your meal.
Yeah.
That's the closest.
Right. But we don't really have it as the same equivalent. Just, yeah,
I think
you say bon appetit.
It's a bit, yeah.
We are avocado rich. Parachichi.
Yeah, parachichi.
Parachichi. Chapati na ndengu na kabichi na parachichi.
Oh, it looks beautiful.
Yay! We picked a good one.
I don't know how you remove that. I simply just...
No, that's how people usually do it. Yeah, I think that's
how most people do it.
I think that's very correct.
I think I've seen people struggle a lot and I'm like...
Just hack it. Chop it.
So you don't want to say it out loud, so you're just like...
Just do it.
Eat it.
Yeah.
Eat it. Okay, so I'm just going to remove all this. Then we can have a meal.
Sawa.
And you don't have to die of hunger when talking to Kenyans.
Boa. And here we're just sitting down, laughing, chatting, and eating lunch, and just hanging out. This is us. And if you go to the 18-minute mark of the video, that's where I start actually interviewing her and finding out what she feels about language and colonization and holding onto your mother tongue and all of that good stuff. Very interesting, and I love her perspective. And that starts at the 18-minute mark.
having my black tea. She's having her water.
Water, Maji.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. So, talking about languages, I remember one time you told me that, because of course she speaks her mother tongue, she speaks Kikuyu. I remember you telling me before that there's a lot of people in Nairobi that maybe don't speak their mother tongue.
Well, it's no secret, really. You'll go somewhere and we have more than 45 sub-tribes. And each sub-tribe in Kenya has its own language. So you'll find someone with a very unique name.
Speak up a little bit.
You'll find someone with a very unique name, like Chep Kemboy. That's supposed to be a Kalenjin from a certain sub-tribe. I wouldn't be sure which one. But then you tell them, oh, can you speak your mother tongue? How do you say this? And you're like, I don't know. Oh, someone will go by the name Wanjiro. They don't know how to say like something as simple as sit down in their mother tongue, or how to say I'm hungry. So I've always gone by the view that despite maybe my children living in a modernized environment, like living in Nairobi, living in a city where we have a lot of mixed cultures, our children should be able to speak their mother tongue. Because they go back home and then they have to speak to their grandmothers. Okay, we're moving away from that, because my grandmother, when I was born, was an old woman of around 70 and above. But right now, grandmothers are starting from the age of 50. So that is someone who went to school at some point. So you assume they know English or Swahili. But leave that point alone. Leave even the grandmother or anything. Your mother tongue is the first step to your culture. So you lose your mother tongue, you forget your culture. And Swahilis say, mwachamila ni mtumwa, which means you leave your culture, you become a slave to some other person's culture.
Say that again, please.
Mwachamila ni mtumwa. You leave your culture and you become a slave of another culture. Why do I say this? I was talking to Simone the other day and I told her about something that I did in my French, one of my French units, about the Caribbean islands. And it was talking about peau noire, masque blanc, which means black skin, white masks. So we are black, she's black, I'm black, but that's all. That's where the blackness ends. You go to the salon, oh, I want to have this straight hair. I want to have a ponytail that goes all the way to my waist. My friend, Africans didn't have ponytails. You go to the salon, you want long nails, you want polish. I'm not saying it's wrong to look beautiful, but once in a while, remind yourself where you come from. You go to the hotel, what are you eating? Burgers, French fries. It's not wrong to eat here and there. But if someone told you, make me a meal from your hometown. Please, when I say your hometown, I don't mean somewhere in the middle of Nairobi. No one was born in the middle of Nairobi. If you were born in Nairobi, ask your mom where she was born. If she was also born in Nairobi, ask her where her grandmother was born. You will not find 5 generations that were born in Nairobi. Someone must have come from somewhere. Somewhere away from the city. And even if all 5 will have come from the city, they had some culture. Like for the Kalenjins will have morsik, some very sweet fermented milk that Simone might never know about. See the problem with being vegetarian? But anyway, away from that vegetarian, you'll tell me the difference between those two.
Only because I also don't take when I was vegetarian, I was still taking milk and eggs.
So you went full vegetarian, which is vegan.
Yeah, so the next step after vegetarian is vegan.
So when you go, let's go now to layman's language. You can be vegetarian and then you go full vegetarian, which is now vegan.
Yes.
In other terms.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Okay, fine. I eat everything the Lord puts in front of me except stones and wood.
But you
and
know
metal.
I've had those stones. You know, on the street they'll sell. Actually, but
that's Maram. That's Maram. Why would you be eating Maram? Another termite.
No, is that what it's called? No, it's called something.
Okay, I don't know what they call them, but I think
women eat.
I also ate them at some point, but I wasn't pregnant. I was 16.
Oh.
Okay. Back to our culture.
Okay, sorry.
Back to our culture.
Please.
So what I'm trying to say is, when you think of Africa, don't even think of Kenya, because Kenya is not the most African place. Actually, we're becoming more westernized, like any other African country. Think of Africa. We had our ways before the white man came. And when I say the white man, I'm not talking of the British or the French. I'm talking about all of them. Because when they came, each of them brought something with them. These ones taught us this, these other ones taught us this. But they usually say they taught us civilization. But if you ask your grandmother's grandma, if you're lucky to have them, we were as civilized as any other person.
Can I just say this?
Or even more civilized than they were.
That's
because we
yes.
knew how to live together. We knew that if I come back to my home country, we knew that these are Kikuyus, our boundary ends here. We border the Maasai, their boundary ends here. We can trade, we can raid, we can go for raids, which are totally all natural. If we win, we take the women. If they come to our place and do the same, life goes on. But they came, they told us no. The God you worship is not God. The only God you worship is in the name of Father, the Son, Holy Spirit, whichever Christian denomination you subject yourself to nowadays. What I'm trying to say is they taught us Christianity. We had our own religion before they came.
Very true.
They came and started teaching us the language. We spoke something before they came. I'm sure we had words. I'm Kikuyu. Kikuyu existed way before the white man came.
Way.
I'm sure some Maasai somewhere will tell you the same thing. They had language. The same way animals have language. If we were living like animals, it means we were civilized. Animals have civilization within them.
And my thing is even that when they try to say this thing about they civilized us, I'm sorry, but there's no civilized people that do what they did to other people.
They civilized us.
They were brutal. They had a brutality.
They taught us animosity. We were human. We were turned senile. I'll say senile because we would not kill for money. We had a way of sitting down, talking about it. It would have been very difficult to find someone getting raped on the street. Just because those days you have a child in whatever community, that child does not belong to you. That child belongs to the community. And I remember as a child, I feared misbehaving because I knew even if my mom was not around, my neighbor, my other neighbor, and the other neighbor would be watching. Even if they won't do something directly to me, they would tell her. So I still indirectly belong to the community. That time, it took a village to raise a child. These days, people think it takes one person. And it has become so difficult. That's why our children are going all sorts of ways. Those days, anyone could discipline you, whether it meant caning or just punishing you in whatever way. But these days, we've lost it. We were taught that you could fight for money. You go to the news and you find someone, you killed your child over 50 shillings. 50 shillings. You forgot that is your child. Who introduced guns? Why did they teach us how to use guns? The only time we used weapons is when we had to defend ourselves. Not just because we want to argue, oh, let's see who is more powerful than who. We didn't have that. We have food. We have our women. They're giving birth. We have our land. We can harvest. We can plant. We can go for raids and come back. That's all we needed. But now they taught us, oh, you can have money and compete for it. Or you can go to a certain land and steal all the minerals because it's not buying. You don't give us back the same value you get from our minerals.
Not at all.
You literally just take like 100% and give us 2%. So,
Kweli.
I don't mean by you, the viewer, depending on who you is. I mean by, I'm still sticking to the white man.
The colonizers.
And the reason I'm talking about language and colonizers, now that you introduced it, is because we went from colonization. We were given our freedom halfway. And then now these days we have neo-colonization of the brain. Because we're in our own land, but we want to do things in a way so that we can attract so and so from a certain country, so that we can have their support, so that we can import this and this from them, so that they can buy this and this from us. That is reverse psychology, and at the end of it all, it's just neo-colonization, because we are forgetting to put value on what comes from us.
Very true.
What comes from us? We have our own coffee, but what do? We sell it to, I don't know who we sell it to. I think it's must be some country in Europe.
Yeah, I'm
and
sure.
And then by the time it comes back, it's triple the price. You sell a bean, and by the time it comes back, it's so refined. And I'm like, don't we have our own refineries?
I forget what the name of the coffee. There's an actual where the shamba where they have the coffee, and they also do tours there. I forget what's the name, but a friend of mine who is also Kenyan, she's also Kikuyu, but she was telling me that when she went on a tour there, that she went to where they make the coffee. They showed them, they did the tour, they showed everyone, and then when it was time to go to this cafe, they went to the cafe and she ordered a coffee, and it was like some instant powder coffee. And like, she was like, okay, well, what about the coffee? And
where did the beans go?
Yes, and they shipped them
how
all
did the beans
out.
Turn into this powder?
Yes, it was just some basic, generic, cheap powder. It was not even the coffee that they were producing there, because all of that was getting shipped to Europe.
Exactly. If you follow the storyline, it left the shamba, went to the factory, got picked, good beans, bad beans, all the good beans, grade 1. That is the best grade ever. All the grade 1 beans get shipped out of the country. Grade 2 remain. Grade 3, I think, are too spoiled to do anything. Those are thrown away. But grade 2 is what you'll find in our shelves. Oh, made in Kenya, processed in Kenya, Kenya Highlands, something, sasini here and there. Grade 1 beans went a long time ago. Those ones left before you could touch them. And then now you're saying, oh, you're drinking some, power coffee. Power coffee from where? Who are you promoting? Those people don't even pay tax to us. They just buy the raw material, make something very fine, sell it at a very expensive value, and sell it back to us, the farmers. They do the same for everything. Every first grade avocado gets exported. Every first grade grain of tea leaves, whether it's in form of leaves or it's in form of the grounded powder. Mixture, the powder, before it gets totally dried, it first leaves the country and comes back as very expensive. I'm thinking of I'm forgetting the name of the country. A Western Africa country where cocoa is grown.
Ghana.
Yeah, Ghana. So that is where you found the cacao plant. But they don't process it themselves. Oh, please, it goes to our French friends. And then it comes back as... And Switzerland, and it comes back as very expensive chocolate. All the expensive chocolate comes from Europe. All the white chocolate, dark chocolate, this kind of chocolate, it all comes from there. But they don't grow it. They don't have the temperature to. It comes from African farmers somewhere here in Africa. Yes. They suffer and labor and toil under the sun all day long, only to go with their mega wages back home. Sometimes they have no pay. They'll be afflicted by all sorts of diseases. And there's one thing that eats me up now that we're talking about this.
Tell me.
Do we have to be used as guinea pigs for every other drug that comes out? Do we? Are we animals? Are we not human?
You know, to some people we aren't, and that's what I have learned over the years, is that
I don't enjoy the fact that every time some new drug is out, unless they have stopped doing it, I know they used to do it, they would first test everything here, and then wait for something to happen, and then if it doesn't happen, it's like, yeah, it is safe for use on human beings.
So when was this? Like, how long ago was this happening?
I would imagine like around from around the 2000s.
Okay.
So I'm not for the idea of having things tested on us, and then we never see proof of them being tested elsewhere. Because I don't like being a guinea pig. And I want to see for the first time ever a drug that is not packaged, not just packaged, but also manufactured in Africa. I'll be the first user if I need to. Yeah.
So tell me about the testing. Like, how do you know this was happening, or when was this like being talked about?
Of course, you'll never find proof. But they usually say that, well, rumors never go far from the truth. I was quite young when this debate came up.
Okay.
And it was just in school. And you know, you're like, for someone to be talking about it, they must have had it somewhere. And then I heard about something where they were talking about this. I heard discreetly in one of my classes. I wouldn't say which. I'm even afraid to talk about it here. Someone might be watching. Don't kill me. I still need to give birth.
Hey. Yes.
So, but anyway, so they were talking about the fact that whenever drugs are developed in Africa, and then they're passed on to the World Health Organization for testing and becoming FDA approved, they never pass the test. Not because we don't have scientists, but because if it comes from Africa, we'll start depending on ourselves. They want us to remain dependent on them. So if we start depending on ourselves, then we won't need them. If we start manufacturing our own appliances, if we start processing our own goods, we won't need them. So we wouldn't be able to be controlled, really. And think of Libya. Libya was the only country in Africa that wasn't in debt when the former president was alive. I'm talking about Gaddafi. So Gaddafi had made sure that students in Libya, they would go to school for free. From the day you were born to the day you finish school, your parents would have to use very little money on you, maybe just for food, because you don't even have to pay for university fees. But, and in addition to that, you also receive a stipend as long as you're in school. So you never go hungry while you learn. But the moment, and it was also the only country that had a surplus amount of money.
No debt.
No debt. They had zero debt. So, you can imagine, I'm trying to imagine our country. Oh, my beloved Kenya, I don't want to talk about you. Because the amount of debt you have, my God,
Guy,
would run a whole of Africa, I'm sure. But anyway, Libya had a president who was a Pan-Africanist. He had the idea of having a common currency for all African countries, but it was never passed. Because the moment we would have done that, we would have become a strong colony. Let me use the word colony, because now we are together. All would have become a strong continent.
Oh, you mean Kenya would have been a colony of Africa? You mean like that?
Not just Kenya, like the whole of Africa. Gaddafi had a dream
for the universal,
for the universe, creating
an African currency.
I won't call it a universal, just an African currency. Yeah. You see, like we have the euro for all European countries. I'm sure you can use the euro in France. You can use it in Switzerland. I think
Switzerland isn't in it, but most of Western Europe is.
Most of Western Europe, not the whole of it, but most of it. Then think of the dollar. The dollar can go more, not just in America. You go anywhere and you can trade anything in dollars. So you have to trade in your own money, buy the dollar, now trade with the dollar. So he had a dream of doing that, which would have unified Africa. And then he also had a dream of being a sort of like a World Bank for Africa. So we wouldn't have needed to borrow from the International Monetary Fund, and it would have been more like donations, not like loans.
Right.
So, and even if it's a loan, it would have been maybe at zero interest, I would believe. And he had the idea that we could trade things within Africa without having to be controlled by our friends out there, the West, the East.
Because that's true, the East too. Let's not forget them. Let's not forget
the
East.
Because the East, they were down there, now they've come up. And they have joined their Western friends. So, I don't want to believe he died Just like that. We all know he was assassinated.
Yes.
For those of us who never watched the news, he was assassinated. And why was he? Because of his beliefs.
And because of what he was trying to
and
do for Africa.
And because of what he was trying to do for Africa, he would have pushed most of the West and the East out of Africa in terms of business, in terms of money, in terms of the resources they were taking away from Africa. And they couldn't have that done. And I had this rumor, and I would really, really, really want someone to confirm it for me. They tell me there's a drug that can cure HIV. But the person who came up with it is dead. Why? Because if they cure HIV, African countries won't need antiretrovirals, which we buy from the West. Thank you. So, if we won't need ARVs, it means then we are cured of the disease. It means then we are good to go. I also want to imagine all these incurable diseases are curable. That is my belief.
There's we have in okay, so do you know Dr. Sebi?
No, I don't.
Okay, so there's a he's an Afro-Honduran man, born in Honduras, but Black African descent. They had a lot of slaves also taken to Honduras, a lot of slaves taken to Latin America. So yes, but he is he's also died now, but yes, he was a brilliant man, and he has found ways to cure a lot of diseases that Western medicine had said were incurable, and all of his remedies were by changing of your diet. There were so many different things that he would recommend to eat, to not to eat,
so
to
they
stay away
weren't
from.
wrong when they say that it all starts in your kitchen.
Nikweli. It's very true, it's one of the reasons I'm very big on what I eat, because and you will even see, like, if someone at this point, every single one of us knows someone that has or had cancer, that either has it currently or has passed on from it. I'm telling you, we all know someone.
Yep.
And it's always interesting to me is that when someone is diagnosed with cancer, the first thing they do, the doctor, right, the Western doctor, the Western medical doctor, they will say, oh, well, cut this from your diet, cut this from your diet, cut that from your diet. Okay, well, if you're cutting it from your diet now at this point,
it means you shouldn't have been eating it in the first place.
It's like, so it's interesting that when people get to a certain level of, panic.
That's when they tell you, you know what, just start by removing this. So why didn't you tell me to remove it? Why didn't you tell my mother when she was coming for clinics and I was this size, this tiny baby? As this baby grows, don't feed him this, don't feed her that, don't feed him this, don't feed her that, because you wanted a patient.
They want
now
lifetime
you have a
patient. Yep.
Now you have a lifetime patient with a chronic disease, and you keep telling them, cut this, cut this, cut this, and then after that, oh, you need radiography. What do we need? Chemotherapy.
Yeah, it's very, I notice the ways that the West keeps us reeled in, you know, and chronically.
Think of something simple. Think of hypertension. Think of diabetes. Once you get diabetes, avoid salt, avoid fats,
sugar,
avoid junk. You get hypertension, avoid diabetes, avoid sugar. That's diabetes. Hypertension, avoid too much salt, avoid this and this. Why didn't you teach us these things, like, from a very tiny age? Like, even tell us to stay away. Tell us to stick to bananas and sugarcane. Tell us to stay away from sodas. Tell us to stay away from these other carbonated drinks. Anything that has additives in them.
But first, they have to make you get the disease in order to be the patient.
So now they can start treating you.
Right. They can't tell you that too early.
Free. It's never for free. And then look at the drugs that a cancer patients use. Look at the drugs that a diabetes patient will use. Look at the drugs that a hypertensive patient will use. Give them like a 10-year lifeline. Start counting the money you need. The trips to the hospital. Pay for the technology used. pay for the fuel you need to go to the hospital every now and then, pay for clinics, pay kidney failure, pay for dialysis, pay for... I have a feeling like when my grandmother told me that these diseases did not exist in those days, I believe her. I believe her because I saw my great-grandmother at 106. That was when she died, at 106. Most of the people who lived in those days are getting to 100, 110, 120. I'm still waiting for someone from our generation to get there. Please, if you do, subscribe and make sure you tell us.
Definitely.
Please do.
Let us know, please.
Yeah, or if you know someone who is not your great-great, and not just your great-great, your great. Not your okay, they can also be your grandmother depending on your age. But if they're 100 and, please do let us know and tell them to tell you about their eating habits, their culture, what they used to eat, what they didn't eat, what we are eating these days that they would never eat. And you will find your answers somewhere along the line.
Yeah.
Because I had it on the radio today. I listened to Classic 105, and they were talking about the things we eat nowadays. Those are the things that are bringing our, what do we call it?
Bringing
The, what do we call it? Oh, my pregnant brain. I've forgotten the word.
Tell me.
The rate, the number at which most people are dying.
Oh, the rate, the mortality rate.
Not just the mortality rate. There's a something. That one, that word that has slipped my mind.
The life expectancy.
Thank you.
Okay.
So life expectancy has dropped.
Okay.
When I was growing up, it used to be around. When I was around 10, 15 there. It used to be around 70 to 80. Now I'm between 25 and 30. So that's like 10 years down the line.
Okay.
Yeah, right?
50. Oh, you were 10. So
I was between 10 and 15.
Okay.
Now I'm between 25 and 30. That's like 15 years down
10,
the
15,
line.
yeah.
So it has changed from 70 to 80 to between 50 and 60. So we are no longer hitting 70. So why is that happening? The technologies we use, the foods we're eating. Someone talked about processed foods. Processed foods, please. These organic foods that we're complaining are too expensive. You don't have to go to the market, the supermarket to be specific, to get organic food. Go to your local market.
Yes.
And get organic food from her.
Yes.
Get a good tomato that was growing in a shamba somewhere.
Yeah.
Not a genetically modified plant. Not a genetically modified fruit. A good fruit. It will look funny. And my mother told me something. Whenever you're buying your greens and they look so perfect, no hole in them, oh please, the flies would not eat them because of the chemicals in them.
It's true.
Go look for something with a few holes here and there, and you're like, oh yeah, the caterpillar enjoyed it, I will enjoy it.
You know, the other day, like last week sometime, I was making some cabbage, cabbage, and I bought it from the local market, you know, fresh from the shamba, and I was literally on the phone with my mommy, and I just had her there like on WhatsApp or something, the call there, and I was cleaning, and there was a small slug.
I think either slug or a snail.
Yeah,
I think one of the two.
Things, yeah. The one it didn't have a shell.
So it's a slug.
Yeah. There was a small slug in the leaves as I was cleaning, and I took it and I showed her even, and I was like, look at the slug, and she was like, ew, that's nasty. It's get it off. I don't know how you can clean that. I was just like, mommy. I'm like, but. And she said I reminded her of her mother, my big mama. So we call her a shosho. We call our grandmother Big Mama. So she was saying that I reminded her of Big Mama, of her mom. And I was like, well, good. That's because my grandmother actually was a sharecropper. They had farms. They grew all of this stuff. You know, I remember going to when I was small, going to their house, and it was like her husband, my granddaddy, he had like greens and tomatoes, all kind of peppers, and like he grew all this stuff, you know. And she was just...
Speaking of which,
tell me.
We should tell people that you don't have to have acres of land to have your own greens.
Yeah.
You just need a 1 by 1 meter space, and you can put it in a sack and have a vertical farm. You can have horizontal farms like the Chinese are doing these days. You just plant them in trays that you can pull out.
Her family also, they have shamba. So
well, we in Africa, so our lands are vast.
Yeah.
Well, I'm talking about places like Nairobi where you just have your bulk.
Because like me, I don't have, land or anything. I have my little balcony.
You don't even have a floor.
It's true.
You just have your apartment.
Just my apartment, And even in my apartment, it's like I grow what I can,
Of course.
So I wish I had more land so I could grow more food, but I still have my herbs growing there. I have my lemongrass. I have my sage. I have my rosemary. I have my mint. When I'm ready for tea in the morning, when I'm ready to take chai, I go to the balcony and I make my chai in the morning.
Good. You don't have to go get powdered sage, powdered rosemary, powdered mint.
It's all fresh, oregano.
How are you even sure what they put in these powders?
But that's the thing. They've done those tests where
maybe they've just flavored something.
It's so true. There's so many.
You're told,
that it's
have
fake.
a cup of hibiscus tea. Please let me see the hibiscus flower floating in there, and I'll believe it was hibiscus tea.
There's actually the food and the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration in the U.S. They have requirements or they have levels that they will accept of like wood chips, dirt, all of these levels that 5% is okay, 10% is okay. So when you're buying coffee, they already know that part of this is wood, part of it is dirt, part of it is whatever,
because it came from somewhere. But you can't tell me, this is food, and it's so clean, and a fly won't even land on it. What are you selling, sulfur? I want to know, really. Yeah, so go on. You were talking about your granddaddy.
Oh, no. I was just saying, because I was going back to what you were saying about how it's not natural for these foods to be perfect, no blemish. They're round the whole way. There's no bump. There's no dips.
There's no even
it's unnatural.
Tiny hole.
Right.
Like, if it has a tiny hole, okay, I don't want to buy a spoiled tomato, but if I'm buying it from a tree where there's one that is it has all these insects, and then there's one lucky one that survived, I'll pluck that one because I'm sure the whole plant is organic. But if I'm going to go into a farm, I don't come across a caterpillar. I don't come across aphids. Well, I'm not saying you should have these things in your farm, but you should have a sign of life.
Some of them don't even have dirt. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of times when we go to our supermarkets, they don't even have dirt.
So
it's like,
where were you planting these foods that if not in the dirt? I think food grows in dirt. So at least let it have a speck of soil, please. And I don't mean go outside there, get some soil sprinkle on them. No. Let it look real.
Yes.
And someone told me, now this is an African way of thinking. If you walk into a butchery and you can't find even one fly, don't eat that meat. Don't. Because even if you took a chicken right now and started slaughtering it outside there, give it 5 minutes, you'll have at least 5 to 10 flies just waiting for you to drop some, and then they can devour it. So that's natural. It's dirty, yes, but it's natural. So you'll protect what you want to eat. But you walk into a butchery, they're not using any form of candles or burning any insect coils or incense to keep away the insects. But you can't see a single fly. My friend, don't eat that meat. Please go running. Go running. Yeah, because there was a case, I think last year but one, and they were talking about how you go to the supermarket and the meat is clean. It remains red. Please, organic meat does not remain red. The moment you cut it, after some time, it has to start turning some form of darkish red.
Dark red.
And if it doesn't darken, something is wrong with that.
But I think that's the thing. A lot of times, because in the Western mind, they think or they say, okay, well, I want it to be red because red is pretty. But it's not natural. We've gotten away from what's natural.
Unless you just slaughtered it.
Just right now,
Just right now, it can be red.
Mm-hmm.
But as long as I learned this the other day from the guy who sells meat to me.
Mm-hmm.
As long as it was touched by steel,
mm-hmm.
it changes the color because of the reaction between the meat and the steel. So it won't remain perfectly red. The inside that has not been touched by steel will be red. A bit red, not so red.
Okay.
But the outside, because it was skinned, and as it was being skinned, some knife was used, it will have reacted with some metal. So it will have some darkened color around it.
Okay. Yeah. I thought it was the oxygen doing that.
It's the oxygen,
the air,
and then it's also
the fact that it
was touched by some
knife.
metal.
Yeah, that's something for you meat eaters out there, for those of you who eat meat.
Well, yeah.
If you're going, I will say this: I know everybody's on a different step in their journey as far as what they eat, what they don't eat, as far as health. But if you're going to eat meat, it makes sense that you eat the most natural thing as possible.
Not just meat.
Not just
anything.
Yeah.
Anything that comes from the ground, anything that comes from the farm, whether it's an animal, whether it's a plant, please just make sure you're eating it safe, so that we don't have to keep going to hospitals to make our Eastern and Western friends rich buying their medicines.
Kweli.
We can stay healthy right from our kitchens.
And there's also, I was just talking to a friend of mine, and we were talking about how there's this now you have a lot of people who they're vegetarian or they're vegan, but they still eat so much processed food. It's not helping you to be vegan if you're eating junk. Like French fries are vegan, chips, beer is vegan. There's so much junk food and these different candies and sweets that are giving you diabetes. They're full of artificial colors, preservatives. They could be vegan, but if they're not good for you, they're not good for you. So for me, I'm not just vegan. I specifically stay away from those things that are artificial, because those come with a whole host of other things that, it's not good enough to just not eat meat.
Speaking of artificial, someone was talking about noodles the other day, and my dad asked me, so as long as I'm telling you we need to start losing weight, we need to start eating healthy, check what you get from the shelves. So you're buying your noodles. I'm not talking about any company in specific, but look at the shape of the noodles. They're not straight. They're in some certain shape that is so solid as you buy them.
Solid as a rock.
Yeah, you can actually break them. And then once you boil them, that is when they get these almost natural straight shape. Not totally straight, almost natural straight. And then my question is, what did they use to put it in that condition for it to last on that shelf?
For years.
Since the day it left the factory until the day it finds its way to your house. And how healthy is whatever it was that was used. Yep.
There's a lot to think about. I know we've been talking for a while.
And I'm not done talking. We have to stop.
Yes, we'll definitely have you again. Thank you so much, Wairimu.
And thank you for visiting me. I enjoyed the visit. And I enjoyed talking to all these people. It feels nice to share something that's been eating me up.
Yes.
And also sharing a bit of here and there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me. Asante sana.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Always.
Until next time, thank you so much. I will see you later and
see you guys.
Bye. And now here we're about to head out to go get her little girl from school. Poa.
Should go get Ivana.
Hi. We just picked up Ivana from school. Yay.
How was school, Mommy?
How was school?
My teachers is gone to home.
They have gone home.
Yes.
And we also go home now.
Yes.
What are you chewing?
I'm
No, don't swallow. Don't swallow. Okay, let's go home then.
Sawa.
Okay. Bye.
Ready? You want to make a video?
Yes.
Okay, say hi.
Hi. I will sometimes see you.
Oh, okay, I like that song.
My inside and
What are these? What are these?
is that egg?
Eggs, but they're really seeds. They're seeds that look like eggs.
Yes. And a downy receipt.
Yes.
It's in the chat.
One for you and one for me.
I want for you.
Okay.
And this one.
Asante. Okay. Say bye.